The Meta Ads Andromeda update has completely changed the way clothing brands are marketing online, and the overwhelming feedback that I have received when consulting with new and even established brands is that their returns have completely bottomed out. Now, the problem out there today is almost everyone is talking about this theory and honestly nothing specific to apparel. So in this video, I'm going to show you what Meta actually said about their latest update, how to apply it to clothing brands, and the exact framework that we've used to continue to generate millions of dollars in sales every single month. Okay, so first off, Meta's Andromeda update is not honestly super new. It's been around for quite a long time. I'm not going to go into this December 2nd update because I've talked about it in a previous video, but basically the announcement is very simple here, which is that we didn't know a ton of what was happening other than the focal point on Advantage Plus, and you've probably seen that inside of Ads Manager, where they're pushing Advantage Plus basically everything, rebranding and naming everything and moving things to the Advantage Plus audience, which I'll talk about here in a second. But most importantly, I want to talk about this update here, which was in the April of 2025 update, because that's when everything started to roll out. And then the reason that people are freaking out today is because everything finished basically the end of August, beginning of September, as far as like the full rollout, if you will. Now, inside of Ads Manager, did that completely change everything? No. If you've been running ads for any point of time before September, it's not like everything was completely changed. That's not the case. But what is important here, and like I said, we'll jump into actually laying out what this looked like specifically for apparel, but basically says the rise of Advantage Plus sales campaigns and Advantage Plus creative. So Advantage Plus sales campaigns, formerly Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, has been one of our fastest growing AI-enabled ad products to date, and part of its ability to quickly and efficiently test an unprecedented scale of ad variations, capturing more opportunities for advertisers. So basically it's saying, look, our AI knows better, so we're going to adjust budget up and down. You've probably seen that too. So we go into like weekly budgets where some days you may spend significantly more because the system believes that they could get more budget or more value from the budget that you have currently and spend less later. So on average, advertisers see a 9% lower cost per action when using the streamlined setup for Advantage Plus sales campaigns. And honestly, I think that's probably true, but most of the reason that is true is because most people think that the setup is the biggest part here. And I'm honestly here to tell you that the setup doesn't matter nearly as much as feeding this system the right info or the right inputs to get a better return. This gives you a good idea of what it looks like. So user requests. So this is the ad creative, user requests on surfaces, personalized retrieval. Basically, it's saying, hey, we got all of these ads. We cannot show them to everybody. We're going to focus on which ads make the most sense. And then we're going to find, I would say, specific buckets. And I have an example of this here in a little bit, but let's say somebody is looking for a pair of shoes. You could be showing shoes on all different types of shoes to so many different people. So let's say Bob over here wants a pair of shoes. You could show him like hiking shoes, running shoes, regular tennis shoes, but turns out he actually just needs shoes for the beach. And this is saying, hey, we now know that Bob wants shoes for the beach, so we're gonna find Bob, we're gonna show him shoes for the beach, and then I'm only gonna show ads to him where he's at that time. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that, but essentially, this is exactly what it is it's taking the ad and personalizing it to the individual. Ben & Jerry's used Advantage Plus Creative to diversify its ad strategy and saw improvements in engagement and conversion rates, running a Meta Ads Advantage Catalog ad campaign with generative AI ad feature for the background image generation and drove a 7% increase in link clicks compared to using its usual creative assets. I also want to share with you a couple of theories and things that people are teaching right now. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I'm going to share with you things that are completely false based off of data and based off of real actionable results specifically to apparel. So I'm going to share all of those with you. But first I want to say a quick hey, howdy, and hello. So my name is Aaron, and alongside my business partner Christian, we created this channel for you guys, for clothing brand owners, so that you guys can hit your revenue goals, support your families. And if you have found any value in this video so far, any of our other content, I would truly appreciate it if you give us a nice little like and subscribe. It is 100% free. It takes 3 seconds. And if you do this in the next 3 seconds, I'll share with you a very fun JCPenney Christmas card from our whole team last year. All right, so this is what everyone is teaching right now, and this is why it is wrong. So people are teaching right now ad set targeting. Let's just say you're selling a pair of shorts. What they're thinking is that you're going to create one campaign, and then you're going to have 3 different ad sets, and those 3 different ad sets or the 3 different sets of targeting are going to go after 3 different audiences, okay? The problem is the ad set does not do the targeting. You using interest targeting, lookalike audiences, all of these other like input features, they do not matter. So what's being taught right now is, hey, I'm gonna control the budget from the ad set level. I'm gonna make sure that all of my ads get spent. I'm gonna make sure that this one gets $25, this one gets $25, this one gets $25, because it's the only way to equally distribute the ads. However, it does not matter, because I don't care if this one gets more spend or gets equal spend to this one if they are not going to actually make money. I want to get the lowest cost per acquisition, reach as many people, and for the most part, I'm using ads to go after top of the funnel, new acquisition play. I have a full system for everybody else, and technically ads do the retargeting, but that's a whole nother conversation. But do not set your budget at the ad set level. Also, if this one is doing well, a lot of times what people will do is they'll say, oh, this one is doing well at 25. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate the ad set, and I'm gonna now put it at $50. Okay, do not duplicate the ad set. It does not change anything. Yes, you used to be able to do this, and it used to work. Sometimes you do hit a bullseye. Sometimes it can work. But consistently, you're spending more time inside of Ads Manager, wasting time and effort on things that do not matter. Do I also subscribe to the people who say you could spend 2 hours in Ads Manager a week spending $2,000 a day? Absolutely not. But do I subscribe that you have to spend 3 hours a day every single day tinkering with things? Absolutely not. You duplicating that ad set is not going to help your business. It actually is just going to make things more volatile. The other thing that I see is you have a campaign and you have one objective. Now, I do believe in separate campaigns for different objectives. More than likely, I'm going to create a new campaign for Black Friday, Cyber Monday if my budget doesn't allow, or if I'm starting to go after people in the UK, or if I'm going after people in Canada. Those are going to be different campaigns. But to just start a new campaign, what happens a lot, honestly, is people think that their ads aren't working. They're like, let me reset this. Let me revitalize this system. Let me shut it down and then start a new campaign, because there's no way it was working before. It's got to be the setup. So then they turn off the campaign, and then they go start a new campaign with everything else that's the same, with the same objective. That is a waste of time, it is a waste of effort, and honestly, it's a waste of your money. So now that we've got that out of the way, again, nothing against those people. They may be creating content specifically for things that are not apparel, but let's talk apparel. Meta even told us, very simply, this is what it should look like, or this is what is happening, okay? And then let's jump into concepts, but this is the complete layout that I would have. So what is this besides a lot of weird squiggly lines? So this is a campaign. I'm not going to change anything about the campaign. It's literally just the housing mechanism that we have here. The 3 different ad sets that we have, I'm going to think of them as concepts. A lot of times people have used the word concept, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. Each concept, all right, let's go, for example, it's a pair, let's just say it's this shirt. This shirt is the concept could be an us versus them. So this shirt versus Lululemon, or this shirt versus another brand, okay? So the concept could be us versus them. The variations of creative on the us versus them, which is what Meta would like. It would like diversification, meaning instead of just a us versus them flat lay, it would also like to see like me talking right here with a mic in my hand, talking about wearing this shirt and the material, and then me over here talking about the them and what material and not good. So it's like now it's a video versus an image. You also have creative that breaks down to, for example, an us versus them carousel, so people could scroll through. That's different types of variations, different types of creative examples to diversify. Now, the biggest difference here is that instead of targeting from the ad set where you control and you say, hey, I'm going after people outside of age, gender, location, I'm going from interest targeting, the main thing that's happening here is that one individual ad is going after one individual type of person. If there is somebody out there who's like, look, I have no time to watch videos, all I can see is images, they're going to love our piece of creative that is an us versus them, and it's a flat lay, and it's just showcasing the differences. That's it. That's one person who could have it. This second one here, if they had the video, where I'm talking here, and some person's like, look, I need to visually see it. I would love to see that it's a 4-way stretch. I would love to see that it's organic cotton. This is gonna target a completely different person. The ads equal the targeting. The ads are going after your customers. If that's the case, then diversifying the creative that we have is going to target new audiences. So if you're not reaching people or your ads are not spending, it could be a budget, right? Unlikely, but it could be budget. But more than likely, you're not creating content that goes after an audience specifically, or kind of a common mistake or common misconception is that you have ads that are very similar. It does not want the exact same thing duplicated, and it's like, all right, this is the same shirt, this is the same background, this is the same shirt, this is the same background, and here, slight change of text, slight change of text. It's not going to be that big of a difference. It's going to pick one of them and target that person, and then this one may not get spent. One misconception that I hear a lot, and this goes outside of just the apparel industry, this is just in general, is that you have to have so much more creative. I don't think that's the case. I think the same amount of creative, but more diversified, is completely different, all right? And that's kind of the focal point, is that we have different creative going after different audiences or different audience types based off of concept. But first, hold up just 1 second. I want to say that if you are a clothing brand owner and want to jump into the specifics of your brand and how to grow profitably online, you can schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with us. There are limited spots, so go find a time that works best for you right now. Check out the link in the description down below. Okay, so a lot of people ask this, they're like, all right, what creative concepts make sense? This is something that we created a long time ago. We have continued to refine them. I think there's technically maybe a couple more that we have, but essentially there's 10 main types of concepts, and then you can use these concepts to create your own iterations. There's one phrase or one thing that you should learn. A lot of times people think that you should innovate when we really don't have to innovate all of the time, because if you continue to innovate, it's going to be exhausting. You're not going to be able to keep up. And some of you guys are spending $100, $200 a day. You don't need to be thinking about that. Some of you guys are spending $5,000, $10,000 a day, and you do need to think about it a little bit more. But if you're just starting out and you're less than $500 a day, you do not need to come up with so many new examples. But this is the phrase in order of how you would do it. So the first thing you want to do is imitate. Okay, so you could imitate something on here. I have a full list of before and after, bullet points, carousels, brand founder story, graphics, headlines, us versus them. Here's an example of like some us versus them. It's all kind of pulled into this. Again, us versus them. You have different concepts that you could go off of, right? So imitate first. And then if you wanted to change some variations, don't just use the same white background. Don't use the same, type of text. If you want to, create an iteration. It needs to be noticeable. The percentage of what that is very subjective, but it needs to be noticeable. It does not need to be like our example over here where you just change the text. So iterate and then innovation. This is last. Most people don't really even get to the innovation stage. So focus on imitation, imitating, diversifying, and using your ads to target different audiences. Okay? Remember, you do not need to do ad set budget. You do not need to duplicate ads or ad sets. You do not need to duplicate ads even, right? So each campaign, based off of a concept could be like that us versus them we talked about, going after different types of creative styles, and then those ads are going to target your audience. You do not need to do all this fancy, complicated things. You do not need all these other different types of ads. You do need to diversify, so stop using the same graphic we talked about here, right? You do need to change that up, but you do not need everything to be innovated. Okay, so now you know how this update applies to clothing brands. So go watch this video on creative ad testing and scaling right here next. All right, y'all have a great rest of your day. I will see you next time, and P.S. make sure you subscribe.